Good evening. Welcome to the Glazov gang. Our gang members this evening, Andrew Klavan, critically acclaimed and world-renowned adult thriller writer. He is also a black belt in karate. Evan Sayet, America's #1 conservative comedian. He has a great show coming up in Westlake Village on March 25th. Go to his website at where?
Come on, evansayet.com.
Well, I thought it might be .org. You can't miss this show.
Well, it should be because my show's a nonprofit.
You can't miss his show. The funniest man in the United States, and he has also been ranked as being among the top 25 influential conservative Jews in America, correct?
Is that not unbelievable?
And we also have Eric Allen Bell, somewhat of a defector from the left, but he was also expelled. He told the truth about Islam while he was a blogger at the Daily Kos and got fired/canned because of it. Gentlemen, welcome to the Glazov gang.
Thank you, sir.
Evan's a gang member. Eric's a gang member. We have a new gang member this evening.
And did you tell me we do a new gang member?
No.
I was going to say, you don't have to beat me up or anything.
Give Andrew the warning of the gang members. You can check out anytime you like, but...
You can never leave.
I knew I heard that somewhere.
Okay? Gentlemen, welcome to the Glazov gang. This segment is titled The Saga of Eric Allen Bell. Eric, you are joined today by two also former leftists, or perhaps two former brain-dead liberals. I don't mean to insult, but they'll tell us where they were. You've come over now, or to some extent, briefly update our guests as well as our viewers on what happened to you at the Daily Kos and where the situation stands now.
In the process of making a documentary about the building of a 53,000 square foot mega mosque in America's Bible Belt, I was also a writer for Michael Moore, Common Dreams, and Daily Kos, where I wrote about 109 blogs, articles. My last 3 articles exposed loonwatch.com and CARE and the human rights abuses in Islam, and I was promptly canned. When that happened, loonwatch.com, which is a Islamophobia hate watch site, published an article with my picture and my name calling me the loon at large. This went out all over Islamic sites all over the world with language that I think a lot of jihadists might read to mean insulting Islam or enemy of Allah.
Putting your life at stake, at risk.
Yes. Now, then I went on to the Michael Koren show and told what I just said just now. Since then, Loonwatch has pulled that off of their site, as have most of these Islamic sites. So I think that's a bit of a win, that by exposing their tactic on national primetime Canadian television and having that go out all over the web, they pulled the article, they pulled the picture. So
What did the Daily Kos say when they fired you?
they just banned me, that's all.
They just said you're out.
They wouldn't respond to my emails, just banned.
They never said why.
You can be banned by the tyranny of mob rule, by consensus on
Eric,
that
wait,
show.
tell quickly some of the things you said about Islam.
Well, I think the thing that a lot of people frowned on was I said that really all you need to know about Islam is that the ideal man in Islam is Muhammad, a man who killed people, beheaded people, stoned people, tortured people, spread his religion through warfare, and raped a 9-year-old girl.
You're
But
being a
other-
little bit
problem with
Islamophobic on my program. Now, Andrew, what does this say about the Daily Kos? What does it say about our society at large? Truth-telling about Islam, even repeating what's in Islamic theology, is not allowed in our culture anymore to a large extent.
Well, it's very strange, isn't it, that the people who are so upset with the Catholic Church because they won't provide free, contraception to women, so they hate women, actually are for protecting a religion that clearly subjugates women. I mean, it's right there in the religion that women are to be subjugated. So it's very odd, and I mean, I can only think. I mean, they do it. The way they do it is by confusing a philosophy. A religion is a philosophy, after all, with a race.
That's correct.
It is reprehensible to hate people for the way God made them. It's not reprehensible to hate belief systems. There are plenty of belief systems I hate a lot. Nazism is one of them. So they do it. That's how they do it. But why they do it is a little more confusing. I mean, maybe you have more insight into that.
Before we go to
I know
are
the answer.
you proud of Eric's brave step?
I've only just met Eric, but I like him, and
you're very impressed.
And I assume by
impressive.
brave step you mean coming out with his hair like this.
There I'm just envious there.
That's so not fair.
I knew hair up. I decided to do it.
First of all, what always strikes me is how when you're
He's
on the
going to
left,
get you back for that one.
when you're on the left and you're doing what they want you to do, you're a genius, you're brilliant, you're so moral and decent, and the second you do something they don't like, you're banned, you're evil, you're horrible. I think of Bernie Goldberg, who for 29 years, Dan Rather said, and now a person that I trust very much, Bernard Goldberg. Then Bernie wrote a piece exposing, and it was just simply stating the facts about a piece that was biased. He's a right-wing fanatic, he'll never work here again. I was a genius when I was writing Politically Incorrect. I'm a hack now that I'm on the left, now that I'm on the right. But I do know the answer as to why the liberals invariably will protect evil and try to make good look bad.
And you're saying this as a former liberal?
Yeah, but let's be clear. I was never a leftist. I had no ideology. I had the New York liberal Jew ideology, which is Democrats are good, Republicans are evil. Okay, let's play basketball. There was nothing else to it. There was no depth to it. There was no. I thought deeply, and yes, I side with the left. No, it's just it was almost in your DNA growing up where I did, amongst whom I did. The reason is that if you can make if evil is exposed as evil, you might go to war against it. If good is shown to be good, you might go to war to protect it. So in order to have peace, remember John Lennon said no countries. He didn't say let's eliminate the bad countries, the oppressive countries. It was no countries, no religion. They do not draw a distinction between religions that teach love thy neighbor and those that teach kill all infidels. What they need to do is make bad look less bad, good look less good, so everything looks the same, and that way there's nothing to fight about. If you think about Michael Moore's movie, Fahrenheit 9/11, everybody knows that wasn't an honest movie. It wasn't an honest attempt to accurately portray the real events. The whole point of what he did was to make America look a little less good than we really are, Saddam look a little less evil than he really was, in order to undermine the honest discussion about whether we needed to go to war at that point.
Thank you, Evan. And tremendous moral relativism, and yet at the same time, moral relativism goes out the window when they judge American society. Eric, what do you think about the wisdom that's been offered here by the two guests?
I have a slightly different point of view, but although I don't necessarily disagree with anything he said, I think the left aligns itself with Islam because it aligns itself with whoever they perceive to be the enemy. And the biggest victimizer in the world is Islam. And they have got America convinced through CARE that they're the biggest victim.
Did you once believe this in some ways?
Of course. I have to. I shot 300 hours of footage in my documentary supporting that narrative before I had to unravel the whole movie.
Eric,
and start over.
Evan and Andrew have told us that when they left the left, they didn't have one friend left in the left.
Well, I didn't have any friends to begin with.
I'm making it up. How many? You didn't have any friends to begin with.
Nobody liked it.
Yeah, and nobody still likes you.
That wasn't ideological. I'm just an idiot.
Does anybody like you right now? No, still nobody likes you.
I was going to say, but no, I guess not.
Okay, I like you, Evan. Have you lost some friends?
Yes, in Murfreesboro, where the documentary is taking place. Not only did I lose friends, but so many people were venting on their Facebook walls that some organization, I don't know who, created a few smear sites against me using information they picked up. Yeah. Much of it is exaggerated.
I'd like to ask a question though. You've had one clash with the left, if we can call the Daily Kos the left. We'll just call them that for.
What else would you call them?
But has it? Well, they are leftists, certainly. Yeah. So you've had this clash with them. Has it changed other parts of your point of view, or is it only on this issue?
Absolutely. It's caused me to have to rethink everything.
It has. Yeah.
It has really sent me into a state where I have a lot more questions than I have conclusions. And I think that's a state I'd like to stay in, is a state of inquiry and really, I'm rethinking everything.
Yeah. I have the same experience with the Soviet Union.
Can you talk a little bit about yourself and how you would relate to this?
Well, the thing that did it for me, and I was kind of a lefty. I worked for the Village Voice. So I was a left-wing guy, yeah. But I had these kind of like little pings of anomalies, like how they say scientific revolutions having these little anomalies, and then suddenly you have to explain them all. And when the Berlin Wall came down, and I suddenly realized everything that Ronald Reagan had said was going to happen, happened. And I thought, well, gee, he was the dummy, he was the cowboy, he was the warmonger. it took me years to rethink that position, but from that moment, it was impossible. It was impossible to stay where I was.
Andrew, one second. What was some of the emotional gratification that came with being a lefty that you had to leave behind? It feels good, doesn't it?
It
You're
does.
superior to others.
No, it wasn't that. It was a sense of virtue. It was a sense that this was where virtue lay.
Well, then you're superior to others by having that sense of virtue.
Well, it was just the idea that this was where virtue lay. That in other words, you cared for the poor,
right.
You cared for the minorities.
But what I mean is that in some ways you're better than other people because you
yes,
have
I am
virtually
better than
other people.
No. But that's remained true even on the right.
You find that on both sides.
Yes, you do find that on both sides. Yes.
I said this earlier, but it's absolutely true. I have an expression: the first time you think is the last time you're a Democrat.
Yeah.
Once there's something that makes you say, I need to actually look into, does this work? Do they do what they're saying? And you start to I had to rethink. You know what? That's not even fair. Not rethink. I had to think for the first time about every issue. And I find the more time I spend thinking, the more I move to the right.
What I really enjoyed was I didn't have to say things anymore that I knew weren't true. That was the greatest gratification.
Just to fit in or to maintain your identity.
I would
also, but where I would
ideology.
really argue when Eric, when you say it exists on both sides, no, it depends what realm we're talking about. Because on the right, you do not have the self-appointed social redeemers that believe that they make the decision of who is the damned and who is the saved. We don't have conservatives that
on the
believe...
lunatic fringe, the religious...
Well, wait a minute. Maybe on... But
That's
wait a minute.
part of the
Conservatives
base.
do not believe...
It really isn't.
Wait. When you believe that human institutions and human race can be perfected, then you believe that you're a social redeemer. This is something that exists on the left and not on the right. That's the big difference between
And
us.
proof of the pudding is the left wants more of elitist rule. They want the 535, what Thomas Sowell calls the anointed, in Washington, D.C., who are smarter and better than the people of Kansas and elsewhere.
I have to side with Eric on this. I think that, I put up a blog on PJ Media, and I get a lot of comments that make me feel, Joel Cerno, the wonderful producer of 24, once said to me, the worst thing about conservatism is conservatives. And I sometimes find that in the comments
I'm not
section.
saying that there's not reprehensible people on the right.
No, of course not. But all I'm saying is that while I agree with you that the philosophy of the left, followed to its conclusion, is essentially idealizing and reformist and all that. Yes, the people on both sides who get too political, too sure of themselves, go off the deep end.
But as we know, leftists in general have this disposition where they know better than the common man. When they look at the human race, they're looking downward.
And we all know that we know better than the guy.
But look, let's leave this segment very quickly, 20 seconds each. Where do you stand now on your political journey?
It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
Everything is up for grabs. I'm reconsidering everything.
Okay, Andrew, final thought?
Once you recognize that liberty is a principle in and of itself, a good in and of itself, it's very, very hard to be anything but at least a constitutionalist conservative.
Evan, you'd like to apologize for some of the views you once had?
Apologize for something, Evan, for crying out loud.
I've got a lot to apologize for. I don't think, I don't want those emails from those radical right-wing... the journey continues, but every stone that I turn over, I just get more solid in my belief in conservatism, and more than anything, my antipathy, and it's getting worse than that, towards the left.
Thank you. Thank you, gang members, for joining the first segment of the Glazov Gang. Join us tomorrow evening when we discuss Scott Ritter, underage girls, and Iraq. Join us tomorrow night.